Hi guys and ladies, welcome back to another episode. My name is Disama Matietsi. This is episode number 20 of the Being an Analyst podcast, and today we are discussing hard skills and soft skills for analysts. We're thinking that if you have listened all along, you might be asking yourself, what are the hard skills and what are the soft skills that I must learn as an analyst for me to start putting things into play, especially for people who wants to help SMMEs with digitalization. Don't you worry, if that's what you're looking for, stay tuned. Just after the theme song, we'll be discussing that. I've seen a lot of lists going around, both on paper, printed paper, in books, some, and then others on, when I was in university, and as much as online, going around on skills that you must have for you to become an analyst. All of this started from 2009 when I actually wanted to look at finance MIS, and I read a lot of this. But I must say, what I realized is much was written about technical skills or the hard skills and less about the soft skills. Although a lot of work has been done recently with a lot of people trying to say, hang on a second, you actually need the soft skills or EQ for you to become a good analyst, especially when you have to go into the presentation and them, you actually need those skills. And it becomes, one of those to say which ones has the highest priority. Is it the hard skills or is it the soft skills that's going to make you an analyst? Let me make an example, a practical example about myself. I had developed a very, very nice finance tool that actually does vendor analysis. And I was invited into a very special meeting of CFOs. So it was a CFO forum. And my CFO, finance exec on our side, he calls me into the meeting. He's like, are you free? Yes, come into the meeting, present. And I said, yes, sir, I will present. But I said that in front of everybody. And he said, don't call me sir, call me George, in front of everybody. And guess what did I do? I called him Mr. George. So my soft skill, as much as I have developed a very, very beautiful tool with my technical skills, my soft skills is the one that let me down. Because later on, when I'm reflecting on it, I realized that I have sent the wrong message within the group. I made him look like a slave driver, a slave master, instead of a guy who enables everybody else in their team. So it might be small things that I missed out on, and hence why I say, let's read the list so that you know which one do you balance with hard skills and soft skills. But to be fair, I will start with the hard skills because the hard skills equip us as analysts with robust data manipulation, advanced analytics, and insightful reporting skills to drive data-driven decision making. Because it's data-driven decision making, you'll realize most of this are relying on how do we look at data for analysis. What are we looking at? We're looking at data analysis and statistical skills. That's the first one. Second one, we're looking at advanced Excel and spreadsheet proficiency that we cannot stress enough. Everybody's talking about that. Third one is programming skills, such as Python, R, or SQL, or SQL. The fourth one, we're looking at data visualization and reporting tools such as Tableau, Power BI. You have the whole list of these data visualization tools. The fifth one, we're looking at machine learning and predictive modeling, especially nowadays that there's been advancements in AI. We need to know how do we prepare data to put it in for machine learning and predictive modeling, depending on whatever modeling tool we're going to be using. The sixth one, we're looking at big data platforms and tools like Hadoop or Spark and many more that are coming through right now to help us with this ever-growing data. People are, if we are in banking, people are kept on swiping every second So now you have this ever increasing data that will never stop. So you need to know that. After that, you need to look at business intelligence and software proficiency, which is now the back end, not just the visualization, but how do you set up business intelligence. After that, we have to look at financial analysis and econometrics. We know that econometrics is all about the countries or the economy, while financial analysis is looking at within the country, within the business itself, not just the country. So if you are looking to be a financial analyst or financial business analyst, or you doing a piece on financial data or financial market, that skill will actually be quite useful to you. After that, we're looking at quantitative research methods, which is where the quant side of things stays in, whether you want to be in value analytics pricing, or you just want to be an actuary or quantitative analyst. I think quantitative research methods are the ones that really going to give you the step up. After that, we look at data management and data warehousing. Data management and data warehousing, very, very important. And I was actually been sending out to my mentees that if you don't know how to manage data and how to warehouse data, the likelihood is you're going to struggle with analyzing the data. Because sometimes, if you know where and how things are stored and normalized within the database or the data warehouse, it will be easier for you to do your analysis, and you can even send the right request to say, can you measure this and that to create this report? So those are the hard skills that most people are actually talking about. They might go into detail to be tool specific, but I think in high level, those are the skills that you probably should be looking at. But you don't have to do all of them. You just have to pick one. So just go through the list or listen through the list. Pick the one that you say, okay, I want to focus on this. If you want to be in pricing, maybe quantitative methods will be the one. If you want to be in finance and talk about the debentures growth and movements within the financial statements, maybe the financial analysis and econometrics might be the one. So just learn the tools in that side, and then you'll be in good stead. Let's look at the soft skills, the one that actually let me down in the boardroom. These are quite needed because they empower us as analysts with communication, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence to excel in dynamic and data-driven environments. You can just hear how these are quite important for our communication and them. And right on top of the list is communication and articulation. If you can be able to communicate, whether it's written or it's speaking out, you must be able to communicate yourself clearly and articulate yourself properly. I've seen people that can actually talk nicely, but when they have to write down what they spoke about, they struggle. So articulation is quite important. Communication is not just talking; it could also be a written communication. After that, we're looking at critical thinking and problem solving. We're looking at attention to detail and precision. Everybody's been talking about this one. Adaptability and flexibility, collaboration and teamwork, very important because you're dealing with cross-functional teams most of the time. Time management and prioritization. If you have project management skills, you will be able to use those tools that they give you in project management for your time management, and also prioritizing the tools that are needed. Creativity and innovation, emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills. You can just see where did I let down my CFO in the meeting. Client relationship management, because of course you have to be dealing with client. This is not just customer value management. This is, you actually need client management, client relationship management as an analyst, so that every person that comes to you, it's actually a client. The last one is leadership and influence. This is needed because you will be sending things or preparing things for leaders. So to do that, you need to have leadership and influence skills so that you can be able to be on the same level. And when you request data, you can request data appropriately. Don't nag people or do whatever. So you have to do it the right way that top executives or management is doing it. That's the same way that we have to do it. And hence why there's a difference between a junior analyst, normal analyst, and a senior analyst. As you go along, you start to pick up different. You might find out that the senior analyst is almost like an exec themselves. They go in, they talk like an exec, they act like an exec, because now they are supporting. They might be supporting the execs on the C-suite or whatever. That's just the list itself, and it gets me to another point to say, because I reflected when I wrote the book. Yes, this book, Being an Analyst, because the whole point of the book was to help us manage ourselves for success and unleash our potential in the knowledge economy. Because in the knowledge economy, it's all about unleashing what we have and finding full potential within the list that we just spoke about. And when I wrote this book, I created a nice story, nice journey. And I thought, if I do a road trip, how many stops do I need to do? I don't want to do 100 stops. So I just created 10 stops. 10 felt like a good number. um, and it just made sense. 10 stops that every time you go, like we are in a road trip, you can stop in the first stop, do something, go to the second stop, go to the third stop. And this book, as we were writing it, as I was writing it, it was actually a guide for people who are already in their career and they are thinking of switching a career from whatever their title or job specifications is. You might have been in strategy, just as a normal person in strategy. And you're thinking to yourself, hang on a second, I think it's high time that I switch over to become an analyst and explore strategy analysis. How do I do it? And that's why when I wrote the book, and I did say the audience of the book, the ideal avatar of the book, is a person between 25 years old and 45 years old who's thinking about switching career, and we're helping you accordingly. And we do it in those 10 steps, and those 10 steps go in this order. So the first one is the first step. We tell you about navigating the data analysis landscape. Remember, I'm saying data analysis because we're going to be doing data driven decision making. So if the whole point is data driven decision making, we say, hang on a second, let's give you the landscape comprehensive guide of the landscape for you as an analyst. In there, we're talking about where the analysis strength is going to be, that there's more analysts that are needed even in the future. We talk about, academic background. What does it look like in academy? Is there enough programs that for you to do it? Can you do it in the pajamas nowadays in school? What are the salaries looking like internationally in dollars and in South Africa in rand? What are the salaries for the people look like? How do you get your freelancing gig? Is there even freelancing gig? Just looking at the landscape itself. How do you get hired if you don't want a freelancing gig? And also give advice for most of the most common mistakes that have been done by novice analysts. Remember, I'm saying novice analyst because it's somebody else who's switching career. And then why we need to understand the need for AI and the role that AI has to play within analysis. So that just on the first stop, just give you an overview. And then we move over to the second stop where we like, okay, on this second stop, let's look at a pathway to becoming an analyst and nurturing your path to excellence. How do you go about doing it? And then here we're discussing, can you do it through education, whether it's university itself, it's colleges itself, or physical, you can touch people in this type of environment, or it's within online, that's through education. So the method, it mattered not to me. What matters is somebody's teaching you. The second one, we're looking at job internship or secondment. So you start a job, you're like, okay, can I start a job or can I be seconded to another team of analysts so that I can learn about analysis? They send you there, they show you the ropes, and you become an analyst. The third one is through master classes. Master classes are good if there's a concept coming and you can just go to a master class. It's a day, 2 days, 3 day, 1 week, depending on how long the master class is. You go in, or it's going to be maybe a couple of hours, depending on how simple the concept is. You go in, you learn the concept, and you go out. When you get out and you're like, I know this thing. Like something is, I know how to play around BART and ChatGPT. And they can say, we're looking for somebody like that. Come and become an analyst. Other one, it could be using company learning resources. The company might have already within themselves, the analyst department. They might have courses that you might have to go through. You can reach out to them, get their courses, do those courses, and after you pass that courses, they might just say you're good enough to become an analyst yourself. Other one, you might be joining analyst communities. So once we see you participate in the analyst community, like what we're trying to do, what we're doing now in business analyst with our mentoring program, you join some of those, and then before you know it, you absorb the course, and we give you a certificate. We said you've been part of the analyst mentoring analyst program for quite a while. You're good enough. We can put our name behind you. You become an analyst. That's just a second stop, just talking about, all of that. Besides that, then we move over to the third stop where we're looking at, okay, for you to become a proficient analyst, what else should you be, talking about? So you know what ways to get one, but now it's like, okay, it's either education, job secondment. But on stop number three, we're saying, hang on a second, what should you be learning or what should you pick out of that? So here we have either you can learn math or math fundamentals, learning how to program computer systems, data wrangling and visualization, statistics and probability, understanding databases, machine learning, practicing what you are learning using various platforms, a big data concept, all of those things is what you should be considering when you're saying, okay, I'm going to do job secondment. Then we're going to ask you to say, which of this from stop number three are you going to be getting from your job secondment? So you just pick one to say, oh, hang on a second. It looks like it'll be helping me with data wrangling. So you're going to be a data wrangler. Or they're going to be helping with visualization. So you're going to be a visualization specialist. But you're already part of analysis. I think you're getting it now. Now, after that stop, we go into stop number four, because you've had I spoke about machine learning, spoke about big data, just as a where you can lead to on stop number three. When stop number four, we like, hang on a second. Since you're already talking about machine learning and you're already talking about big data and you're already talking about wrangling and fighting all this data, let's just tell you about data science and why there's a misconception between it and business intelligence. So we split it out and we laid out for you and we say data science is the 5-step process. And you remember in episode number 5, 6, and 7, we spoken about that. So we go back to that, what we spoken about in those episodes. We like data science is 5-step process, and it has all these titles that goes towards it. That's in stop number 4. Stop number 5 also go to the other side. We like business intelligence looks at this. You take data, you play around. You have 4 type of titles or 4 titles that you can play around in. Pick the one that you want, but this is the whole process. But what matters the most, what was important on stop number 5, is actually having a chat about how now do you manage a business intelligence team as a data manager or an analyst manager, because that becomes very, very quite important. And while I'm at it, not looking down on females, but we had some tips that were quite useful that we had observed with most females that wanted to take this role. Say this is when you get there, because it's quite mainly, it's quite technical, it's quite rural. You can actually thrive in being an analyst manager, and these are the few steps that you can use in your side, not overlooking or overshadowing whatever you've been doing on your own, to actually make yourself a good manager. But it was just one of those to say, hang on a second, based on what we've picked up all along, we're thinking this skills or this approaches will help you as a data manager or analyst manager. After that, we move over to stop number 6. On stop number 6, we are now going not just on concept on data science and business intelligence. We're now going a little lower. We're like, okay, it's your first day on the job. You understand what you want to do. You know you're gonna be wrangling data, whatever the case is. We help you understand data structures and data relationship on stop number 4. So once you understand data structures and data relationships, this is where you'll say, okay, what is a variable? What is a data table? What is a list or array? What are key value pairs? What are hash tables? All of those things, once you understand that, and what is common among them, um, then I think you'll be able to have an idea of what it looks like to be an analyst. And also, while we're there, we're talking about SQL and NoSQL, where we are looking at relational databases, we're talking at document databases, we're talking about graph databases, we're talking about analytical databases, we're talking about column family databases and key value databases to help you between the ones they're called SQL because you can query them, and the ones that are called NoSQL because you can't query them. But it's a database. Some of those could be, like what can I say? Some of those could be document one, where you have words in a document that are not in columns. It's a document one. You can query the document, whichever way that you want to query, and that falls under NoSQL. Same one with the graph database. You can query it. You can um, make it look nice, the graph database, but it is not SQL queried. So you'll realize here that when I was reading the technical skills, sometime you might, I mean, if you might come and say, I know Python, I know SQL, and then we give you document database, and you're like, oh, what do I do now? And here we're helping you with that case. Just say what it is, what does it look like, what should you do? And then we move over to stop number 7. When we get to stop number 7, now we go not just on the database types themselves, we help you understand data types and functions for you to be able to build data models. So we go inside the database itself and we're like, okay, hang on a second. Give me the different types of data. I mean, you might have decimal data, you have integers, you have percentages, you have data formatted data, you have time formatted data, you have date time data, you have location data, you have Boolean data, you have all this type of data. You know that when you create a database, you also specify all of those. Then we like, based on what type of data that you have in your database, that will give you an indication of what visuals you can only get. If you're having a time series database that says January, February, March, these are the numbers, we know that a line graph will be quite nice, or a bar chart will be quite nice. And a pie chart or other ones might not be a very, very good indication. We can still try to show it in a waterfall graph, but it might not, work out. But it all depends. You can advise your clients accordingly once you know what your data types look like. So when they say we want a funky looking graph that goes like this, then you can say, we might have a problem because we don't have text data, we have numerical data, or we don't have numerical data, we can't give you a waterfall graph because we have text. So we can give you a word cloud instead so that you can see the most common word that is being typed out. Like give me a trend of what's happening in Twitter. Then I can say Jan, Feb, March. No, I can't show it like that. I can only show you the frequency of the word to say people were talking about analysis 90% of the time in Jan, and it went down to 2% of the time in. But what we are analyzing is the word. It's a text analysis, not just numerical analysis. Okay, then we move over to stop number 8. When we get to stop number 8, since now I already spoken a little bit about the purpose of knowing the data. Stop number 8, we're talking about good visuals versus bad visuals in data analytics. Good visuals, you would know, are the ones that tell a very, very good story. Sometimes we would want data storytelling to say data started like this, we took out this, we moved this, we did that. But I realized that depending on who your customers are, some customers do not have the patience to be looking at, listening to that whole storyline. They just want the one page that says, show me where our problem is. And you come to say what the issue is. Now that they know what the issue is, what should be done, and then what's the next steps that they need to take advice on. So once you know that, then you have powerful visuals. And because you'll be talking to your audience to say, audience doesn't need this. Audience just wants straight, and we talk about it. And we talk about that with Power BI and Tableau because they are quite common visualization tools. And we say in Tableau, you can use this type of things, or in Power BI, you can use graphs, you can use column charts. And why do you have to use those type of visuals for your graphs? And since I'm already talking about the tools themselves, on stop number 9, then we give you a comprehensive overview of the common data visualization tools. Then in here, we're looking at all 11 of them. We discuss Tableau, like we already spoken about. We discuss Power BI. We discuss Excel, MicroStrategy, Click, Looker, Sisense, Denver's BI, Adaptive Insights, Analytics, Plotty, and Python. We discuss all of those different tools that can help you with your visualization. And I realized that there has been a lot of tools coming through, helping out. Other people are even saying maybe AI, just throw it with AI, and AI can give you the craft themselves. They're probably right. But what we have done on stop number 9 is so comprehensive that if you go through it, you might actually find relevance even with a new tool that even is not listed here. Because when we talk about a tool like Excel, we go through the history to say Excel was first came into the market in 1987, and this was the issue with why it came into the market, and it has progressed thus far. It has even AI analytics attached to it called Copilot, and it can actually help you, analyze the data. There's that data insight function. So we go into detail on each tool itself so that you have a comprehensive view. Then after that, we move over to the last stop, which is stop number 10, which is my quite favorite because we showed you what the industry looked like. We showed you what tools, what skills to learn. And we showed you the variants, the types of data, and the mini portions of data. On stop number 10, we're actually saying, hang on a second, take a breath, take a deep breath. We talk about managing yourself for success. This is where we are helping you unleash your potential, especially in the knowledge economy. So we say, hang on a second, what are your strengths? How do you become, when do you become productive? Are you a reader or are you a listener? How do you absorb information? Once you understand how you learn, what are your values? Where do you belong in the whole analytics landscape? Once you understand, you ask yourself those questions, then you'll be able to be in good state for you to become a better analyst than you would have been if you didn't have this self-reflection tool. So out of all the chapters, I think chapter 10 was the one that I wrote with passion. I love it because that should actually, for me, should have been chapter 1, but I needed to start first with the foundation so that when you get to chapter 10, when you're reflecting, you can reflect thoroughly to say, where do I belong in this whole ecosystem of analysis? Okay, then after that, we just didn't stop you there. We went forward. We said, what's next? What should you do next? And then we said, remember, the whole point is that model called the iceberg of ignorance. And we like the iceberg of ignorance that was developed in 1987 is telling us that the top part of the iceberg, the part that you see above water, only that part is what top executives see. And that's almost 4% of the problems within the organization, while the rest of the 97%, it's hidden around them. So when they make a decision and they say, we're going to change a policy, it's because of what they see, not what you guys know, even though you can have the crowd. And we said middle managers, supervisors, team leaders, and front-end staff know about 97% of the problem. And we go back and we are asking ourselves, reminding ourselves to say, the reason why we do what we do is so that we take the information to the top exec. And that's just it.